Want to hear a Wigan fan come to terms with just how good Saints are? Then episode 241 of the Super League pod is for you. 90s TV nostalgia keeps us going through a slate of news that wasn't really new news. Tim has some harsh words for the Valleys, and we weigh in on expansion debate again too. We have your fan views on the big Super League action and make our predictions for a huge week of action ahead. Get strapped in, it's SLP time! Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 241 of the Super League pod. You have got myself, Mark, and joining me this week is Coventry Bears ground announcer, Hull Kingston Rovers fan, Tim G. Tim, welcome back, it's nice to speak to you.
Hi, yeah, not too bad, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm recovered from Friday night. Can't wait to talk about the game. And that's about it. It's been big day of deliveries at the Illingworth House today. We've had a new sofa arrive and a new sideboard arrive, and some new NFL stuff arrive, because I realised all of my Steelers jerseys were players that didn't play for the Steelers anymore or were injured all season. So I thought I needed to get a new jersey. So yeah, that's so it's been a busy day. It helps move on from the weekend's tragedies and disappointments, I feel, when you've got a busy day to come out the other end of it, which is great. And I took my nephew out on Saturday, and he said to me when I picked him up, he said, "Mark, don't talk to me about the rugby because I've not watched it yet. I've recorded it, so no spoilers." Which meant it was quite a good day because I didn't have to talk about the rugby at all. So yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, so this is a monumentous podcast because it's the last one in the Swindon podcast studio.
Wow.
It's the last one. That's it.
Farewell Swindon episode.
Yeah, so Saturday is the big moving day. And
that's exciting.
I'm currently surrounded by a number of boxes and not as much stuff as I had a week ago.
So the move is a work in progress already then?
Yeah, so half most boxes down in the garage, ready to go, and pretty much planned for Saturday morning. Van shows up, load it up, and off we go. And
be sorted by Sunday that you can sit down and watch the NRL Grand Final.
Unfortunately, we're not going to have internet for another week.
Right, well, then Tim needs recommendations for North London sports bars that'll be open at 9:30 on Sunday morning.
I fear it's one of those ones I'm just going to have to let go, because it might be more than my life is worth.
Fair enough. Right, well, it'll be more than our lives are worth if we don't get round to who is sponsoring this episode of Super League Pod. So do you want to tell us about this week's sponsor?
Yeah, this episode is sponsored by Sarah's Bookcase. Sarah sells Usborne books with access to over 3,000 titles from baby to teenager. There's something for everyone. She also works with schools, so please get in touch to find out how you can get free books for your local schools. And you can find out more at www.facebook.com/Sarah's Bookcase.
And I'm fairly certain that Sarah will be able to provide like special Christmas books as well through Usborne, so do check that out as that
Christmas
season
already
is approaching. Well, the rugby season's nearly over now, which means it's winter, nearly.
We've been having the who's going where for Christmas debate in my family at the moment, and trying to work out what. Of course, my sister is making things as awkward as possible. Everybody else had a nice sort of structured plan, and then there we go. And now she gets to blame the pregnancy hormones as well. So it's all going to be fun from here on in.
Right. You are definitely going to be on the hook for quite a bit of time with just moving house and pregnant sister. It's going to be exciting times for Tim this off season. Right, in terms of the show, we've got some news. It's a real mixed bag of news. It includes some stories that we've known to be the case forever and a day, and it includes some other stories that have sprung up as a bit of a surprise, certainly to the two of us. Then we're going to look back at the two big playoff games in Super League that went by last week with we'll talk about Wigan getting thrashed by Saints. Don't you guys be disappointed about that. We'll give that ample coverage. Interesting results to pick up from around the rest of Rugby League as well before we then make our predictions. Oh, we should have done a poll. I totally forgot to. I've been too busy with other stuff but we're going to talk about the NRL Grand Final, the Championship Grand Final, and the Promotion Final as well in League One. So there's so much exciting action to talk about later on in the show. But before we get into the news, I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out for something that I put up on the Super League Pod blog this weekend. It's a new post about what I think Super League should try and get from the next TV deal. So I kind of stuck away from just the loads of money angle, or even particularly
every game to be televised.
Yeah, well, that's one of the ideas actually, but not the cost associated with that isn't talked about. And I've kind of avoided too much about the different broadcasting platforms and that sort of stuff, just because I don't know enough about that side of things. But what I do know is the Super League are trying to draw up plans basically to go to the broadcast partners and the options that they've got out there for broadcasting with a range of different ideas, like so that they're approaching the negotiating table with strategies and ideas and stuff like that. So I thought of some ideas that they might want to put into some of those contracts that they might try to deal up. Now I'm sure Super League won't hold all the cards in any of these negotiations that they're going into during the next 18 months or so, but a few of the ideas in there, I just think there might be things that they'll be able to get agreement on, and certainly one of them is extending the minimum period before a match can be changed for television coverage, and also talk about things like where we can put games in different slots, different broadcasting slots, to try and pick up different audiences as, say, the NFL season ends in February or the football season ends in May, and those sorts of things. So there's a few little ideas, so do go to superleaguepod.com to have a read of that. And I will have another one coming up, because this Thursday night will represent the first Thursday night that we don't have Rugby League on our screens, apart from the odd one through the season, but you know what I mean, until the end of January. So we've got a 4-month gap now with no Thursday night Rugby League to watch, and as much as people moan about having to get out of the houses to get to games on Thursday night being not quite so easy, I'm sure we all like sitting in and watching them on a Thursday night, so that'll be missed. But in its place, I'll give you a new blog post to read all about Thursday night games and who's had the most. So that's just a little shout out about the Super League Pod blog that you can go to superleaguepod.com and read. But we're now going to move away from opinion, I suppose, and more into news from around the world of Rugby League.
So now is the time for the news, or the not news, quite possibly. Starting with Wakefield, and Wakefield Trinity have signed fullback Alex Walker from the relegated London Broncos on a 2-year deal. The 24-year-old has made more than 100 appearances for the London Broncos, scoring 41 tries, and has 4 international caps for Scotland.
Some of these stories just come right out the blue, Tim.
Yeah, right out the red, white and blue.
Good luck to him at Wakefield. He deserves to stay in Super League, I would say. Hull Kingston Rovers have signed Bradford Bulls winger Ethan Ryan on a 2-year deal. The 23-year-old
Really?
Ireland international scored 89 tries in 98 appearances for the Championship side. Tom Andrews, who gets in touch on all things Hull KR and beyond, said, "Seems like a swap for sure, with maybe a bit more finishing ability. Curious to see how he goes. Could do with bulking up a little." I mean, you'll have seen Ethan Ryan when he was at the Bulls when they played against Coventry in League One last year.
Scored a hat-trick, yeah.
He's a talented kid. What do you make of this signing? 23, I thought he'd be young. I thought he was still younger than that.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good thing. I think, as sort of Tom alludes to, he's got some conditioning to do to bring him up to that level, but I think he's got all the raw attributes, and I think he's obviously got that finishing ability which you can't really teach at that level. So I think he's potentially got some good skills to work with.
Fair enough, yeah. Good luck to him.
Yeah. Warrington have signed centres Anthony Gelling and Keenan Brand from Warrington.
Oh,
Gelling,
from Widnes,
who's allegedly 20. Yeah, it should say from Widnes. Yeah, from Widnes. Warrington haven't signed him from Warrington. Gelling, who is allegedly 28, signs for 2 years, whilst Brand, who is 20, signs a 3-year deal at the Wire.
What do you mean allegedly?
Do you not think he's older?
No. He came to Wigan in 2013. It's like a 21-year-old or something. That all adds up.
Yeah, he just looks older.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Tom Andrews got in touch on this one.
Yeah, he said we are in for some insane media coming out of Warrington in 2020. I mean, Anthony Gelling is a fun character, isn't he? It's nice to have a fun character like him back in Super League, and maybe a club like Warrington who are kind of pushing it a bit. They're embracing their role, their place within the market as kind of an up and coming brand rather than a established brand, as it were. That they're embracing.
They've got the license to do something differently.
Output, and Anthony Gelling feels like he'd fit right into that kind of bubble.
Yeah, and the way they announced it was good fun with the whole Keenan and Gels thing, which admittedly you do have to be a certain age to get. However,
I didn't see that. Was there plenty of orange soda on?
Yeah, well, they said that their sort of teaser for it about an hour before was "Who loves orange soda?" That was the clue, and then they did the title music with Keenan and Gels.
Amazing. Nice work again from Warrington social media.
So if you're over 30, you'll have understood that, and if not, tough shit.
I wonder if that would. I strongly suspect Keenan and Kel wouldn't hold up if we watched it now.
I suspect it is what you would refer to as problematic.
James Webster will leave his role at Hull Kingston Rovers to take up a new coaching position as the restructure of Rovers continues. Tony Smith revealed last week that there would be changes to his coaching team in the off-season, and Hull Live revealed that Webster appears to be the one of the backroom staff who will depart the club. And there is some rumours that he's in talks with Featherstone Rovers, so another Rovers, if Ryan Carr does make the jump to Leeds Rhinos as a more permanent deal. And Tom Andrews got in touch again on this one.
Yeah, fantastic player for us, but his coaching career has left somewhat to be desired. Probably was time for a change. Interesting to see who Smith brings in.
Do you echo that?
Yeah, very much. I've not been particularly impressed by him. I think he's from the school of, if I can shout a bit, I can coach.
And actually, with the halfbacks that he's had, because you assume his role is around attack, I don't know, maybe it's not, but you assume it is. With the halfbacks he's had at Hull KR recently, Danny Maguire, Josh Drinkwater, do they need as much guidance? Can't Danny Maguire fulfil all of that role anyway? So now that they're moving forward with potentially younger halfback options, ones that need a bit more development in their game, maybe bringing in someone else who can guide that type of player a little bit more might be the way to go anyway.
Yeah, agree with that.
Another Super League line before we move into that gap between Super League and the Championship, that is the London Broncos. Before we talk about that, Huddersfield have promoted Andy Kelly to rugby manager after serving 5 years as head of youth. The 58-year-old has helped to bring through many youngsters into the Huddersfield first team, but his new job will entail all operational and logistical issues of every team playing in the claret and gold. So basically, now that all the people he knows really well have finally made it into the first team, he's maintaining that relationship by looking after them still. I think it's right for Huddersfield to lean on Andy Kelly, because he's a person in their organisation who actually has shown success in his role in the last 3 to 5 years. Not
Well,
everyone at that club necessarily has in their roles off the field, and maybe it'll take some of the duties away from someone who might not have excelled in those positions. I'm not sure, but he certainly has excelled as head of youth with the way that they actually contribute positively to the talent levels in Super League now, doesn't he? So I think it's good that he's getting a bigger scope. It just